a wide range of ages, so we hit a pretty good demographic of people in both categories. And it showed that on one hand, the individual driver felt that the roadways were safer and they were.
Well, all right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our today's stream. This is the second stream of the day. Let's have a look at it again. As we have had a look, we had sort of a mixed day, but as you can see today, we actually got some really big moves in some of the stocks. We're gonna go through them, but generally, some of the big movers of the day. Uh, let's start here. So Riot, our Bitcoin mining, can actually, after so many downtrend of recent days, actually it is gaining a bit. So let's go with maybe 15 minutes. So it had a jump today. Sumo Logic, one of the things that we have actually invested some time ago when it was around 18 something, is now up almost 8%. Tesla is 7.6%. It's killing it today. And Roblox, Overstock, Okta, mRNA, CrowdStrike, these guys, Tilray, these are all around 6%. PLTR the same. So quite a bit of a day after basically a very annoying day yesterday. So in a sense, that was a breath of fresh air after all those downtrends that we had in the past couple of days. Let's have a look at some of the losers. So Shift is actually almost 5% down. Sunworks minus 3%. It went, I think, almost to 5% as well. Plug, Macy's, it's just doing really not okay today. It recovered a bit from its lows of the day, but it's still Plug, the same story. Gevo, again, many of the momentum stocks are actually hurt today. So this is probably the time to mention that Nasdaq actually just basically now went to high crosses 13,959, which is basically the top in 2 years. And yeah, this is glorious day to basically share it together here, but that's an all-time high. And yeah, so quite a big day for basically the big tech names. So those who are actually invested there are quite happy today, as you could actually expect. What else? What else can we see? Hey, let's look at other things. Let's go to S&P. It's 0.3% almost up, 41, 42 almost level. So this is still going up. Quite an interesting day. I think many of these are actually mainly, as we discussed, because of the CPI data that came not as bad as many people actually assumed it will be. That being said, we know that when we go forward, probably next month, we will have basically higher basically values there. So that could actually basically hint at higher inflation rates. So that could be a bit scary for some people. So maybe for those of you who are actually thinking about short-term gains, it's not a bad idea to like take some profit out of the play. I already did some, and and yeah, if you have something that you feel that you can actually get a part of that out, I think that's safe. Of course, we should remember that we probably expect a higher value for earning a report in the coming weeks. So there will be volatility definitely, but I actually really think that it's not a bad idea to just save some money. Some of the stocks actually just got a really interesting pike. Actually, Cloudflare went almost 13% today, and this is basically based on the new news that, let's have a look at it. So partners with Nvidia to bring AI to its global edge network. So quite interesting news for Cloudflare, and obviously these days talk about AI and crypto and blockchain, and people get crazy for it. So yeah, that's about that. I don't know. I still haven't. I just took some profit out from the Cloudflare, but I still have very small position. I just wanted it to go up a bit more. Also, I'm copying some guys here that are invested in Cloudflare as well, so I wouldn't touch those ones at all. So let's keep them as they are. Let's have a look at my profile actually, how did it work today. So it's 1.30% today. Not really an awesome. I bet many people who are heavily invested in big tech names, they got really, or crypto, they just got crazy. And guys, remember about this. Sorry, this guy here. This is the big thing, and basically many of the crypto moves today that you have seen is coming from this guy. An incredible IPO, an enormous basically news, and many of the crypto names actually started to actually move up because of this one. So yeah, Ethereum up 6%. Let's have a look at cryptocurrencies. Do I have here? Let's go to markets. Let's go crypto. And yeah, Bitcoin 5%, Ethereum 5.5, Ripple 25%, Dash 5%, Litecoin 7.5%, and you can obviously go ADA, Stellar, EOS, NEO. Like, you can obviously see everything is on Ethereum. So if you are in crypto and crypto world, then well done. I'm not much invested in these. I'm only in Bitcoin and Ethereum bit, so not a real winner here. So that's why I say 1.5% is not really a big deal today. And yeah, so that was it. Let's have a look at some of the orders we have in play. I actually bought some W a bit today. Also, I bought VNGO. Some other stock I forgot actually, but what else did I buy? I put some orders for BLDP, so our interesting hydrogen play. Also, we put some really lower values for plug. Plug seems to be on downtrend, although I have to say usually when plug goes this low, usually they come back. We can have a look at it together. So let's see if these guys are saying anything interesting. Nothing interesting. Let me just get these here. And yeah. Alright, so let's start. What do we have here? Unplug. So as you can see, the momentum is actually toward down, but in 4 hour. So this is basically my long-term estimate for 4 hours. When I look at the day, how does that work here? So it's not really a strong momentum here, but you can see obviously it is still moving down. So one could actually expect this to come down maybe to this 25.6 level. But again, I just wait for now. So if it comes here, then if I see it's coming back, then I go. If it breaks and goes lower, I still wait. So I'm gonna actually wait for that one. Blink is another one. Blink was actually only 3% down. If this was actually coming around $30 or low 30s, I would be very interested into putting some money in it. I don't have Blink now, and eToro does not give you a charge point, so that was one of the interesting one. Let's look at Jared. I like him.
And I'm Jared Blickery. Let's get a quick check of the market where we got the Dow down. It's a mixed day. Dow down about 36 points, not too bad. NASDAQ has been the story. Mega caps leading. That is up 1%. S&P 500 up 0.4%. And the Russell 2000 not shown, down about 0.5%. But for more on this, I want to get to Yahoo Finance's Emily McCormick. We got some data this morning on inflation. I think the real story of the day is Johnson & Johnson. But tell me, we got utilities, tech leading, interesting defensive mix, because remember when tech used to be a defense sector last year? Anyway, break it down for us.
That's right, Jared. That news over the pause in the rollout of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine really catalyzing a move back towards stocks in the stay-at-home trade and away from those cyclical and value stocks that had been leading so far for the year to date. We are seeing that boost in tech and software companies. The NASDAQ, the big outperformer today, rising just over 1% and trading near session highs now. And as you mentioned, those utilities, consumer discretionary, and information technology sectors leading the S&P 500 slightly higher and just enough to boost that index to eke out a record intraday high. Now, on the other hand, J&J, which of course is a Dow component, is dragging down that index alongside Nike and IBM, though we're still not too far from those all-time highs on the Dow, and we are off of today's session lows. Now, also want to highlight some economic data that we got out this morning. The National Federation of Independent Businesses Small Business Optimism Index did rise a bit less than expected in March, but still grew over February on better prospects of an economic reopening. But the key report that many were watching this morning was around consumer price inflation. And we did see that the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that consumer prices rose more than expected in March over last month and last year. Taking a look at the headline consumer price index, that was up 0.6% in March over February. And consensus economists were looking for a rise of just 0.5%. And then taking a look at that year over year data, we saw the CPI rising 2.6% over last year. That was the fastest increase we've seen since 2018 and much faster than the 1.7% rise we saw in February. But excluding food and energy prices, we did see the CPI up just 1.6% over last year in March. So the big takeaway here is that rising energy prices were really a big contributor here to consumer price increases last month. We'll see whether this proves transitory and whether this broadens out more significantly to other categories in the coming months. But for now, getting the first signs of these price increases during the COVID-19 recovery. Jared and Shauna.
All right, thanks so much, Emily. Well, let's talk about the big story of the day, and that, of course, is a driver here behind some of the moves that we're seeing in the reopening plays and also those stay-at-home names today. Several states pausing the administration of J&J's vaccine due to blood clotting issues. Dr. Anthony Fauci was out talking about this earlier this morning. Angelique Kamlani has the latest on that for us, Ange.
Thanks, Shauna. Yes, we heard this morning, of course, that the FDA and CDC recommended pausing Johnson & Johnson's vaccine. Some states have already heeded that, as well as some pharmacies, including CVS, Walgreens, as well as Albertsons, taking various steps to either cancel altogether or reschedule appointments. Some states, of course, taking the action as well. But we still have to hear a little bit more about the concerns. To start off with, we know that this was a result of reports, 6 reports specifically, including 1 fatality and one person in critical condition of adverse events, including a blood clot between 6 to 14 days after vaccination. This was specifically seen in women ages 18 to 48. And of those reports, there could be others, is what the CDC and FDA are looking at. So that's why they have set a meeting tomorrow to take a look at it. So what they're looking at, explained by FDA's Peter Marks, is specifically what is causing that. Listen to what he had to say about it.
This is an immune response that occurs very, very rarely after some people receive the vaccine, and that immune response leads to activation of the platelets and these extremely rare blood clots.
So as you can hear, it's a very rare issue, of course, based on that 6 reports out of more than 6.8 million doses already administered of the vaccine. Now, the actions that have been taken, including the rescheduling and cancellations, also is that there is no mandate for the pause. So the FDA and CDC are right now leaving it up to health professionals to take action on whether or not they will continue the use of the J&J vaccine wherever is still available. They are also updating the fact sheet of information for health professionals to let them know that the blood clots are a potential known side effect. It's now unclear, based on the age group and the sort of demographic that has been affected, it's unclear if there is a link to oral contraception, but that is also something that is being looked into. Meanwhile, broadly speaking, we don't know if this is going to affect the U.S. vaccination efforts, but officials are saying that because Johnson & Johnson vaccines make up less than 5% of the recorded shots in arms right now, it is unlikely to really affect the broader goal that President Joe Biden has set. So right now, that's everything that's being looked at. Johnson & Johnson in advance is halting their rollouts in Europe of the vaccine, awaiting further instruction from the FDA right now. Back to you guys.
All right, Anjali, thanks so much. We want to continue this conversation. For that, we want to bring in Dr. David Katz. He's a preventive medicine specialist and also the president of True Health Initiative. Dr. Katz, it's great to see you again. The pausing of J&J's vaccinations. Let's talk about it. If you were someone, some of our viewers may have already gotten the J&J vaccine, maybe they are scheduled to get it over the next couple of days. How should you be looking at today's development, and does it at all change your opinion of the safety of this vaccine?
Well, it does, Shauna. Good to be with you as well, because we now have information about a potential risk we didn't have before. We have to take that seriously. I think the pause makes sense. If you've already had the vaccine and you're a couple of weeks out, you're in the clear. One of my daughters got the J&J vaccine. My family basically signed up to get vaccinated when we could. We've now experienced all three, because my wife got Pfizer, I got Moderna, and one of my daughters got the J&J vaccine. And let's be clear, there are 6 reported cases. There have been over 7 million of these vaccines administered. That's less than 1 in a million. Now, there may be more, but it's still a very remote probability. So if you're scheduled for the J&J vaccine, yes, I think I would wait and let the dust settle from this, either opt for one of the other vaccines or wait until there's a full investigation and there's a change in the recommendations regarding this particular vaccine. And in particular, this appears to be a risk in women. And by the way, Shauna, there's probably more to this story. It's actually a select group of women who are at risk of blood clot formation from oral contraceptives, and in particular, the combination of oral contraceptives and tobacco exposure. And it relates to a genetic mutation and a particular element in the clotting cascade. I suspect that there are probably risk factors for this particular complication of the J&J vaccine. It's probably true that it's stimulating an immune response, but that's probably interacting with a native vulnerability. If we could identify that, and all that work takes a little bit of time, then that population shouldn't get the J&J vaccine. There may be almost no risk for everybody else. I think one of the critical messages here, Shauna, is that people need to understand everything we do in medicine comes with some risk. And anybody who tells you otherwise, you should run away in the other direction as fast as your legs will carry you, there's always some risk. But in a pandemic, every choice involves some risk. And if the risk related to vaccine is 1 in a million, but your risk of getting the infection and being harmed by that is massively higher, those are very, very tiny risks worth taking. But right now, we do have other vaccine options. If you
I actually do not agree with him at all, and I'm one of those guys who is advocating or trying to suggest people or try to, lay out facts for people that vaccination is actually a good thing. But I don't think that we have to, if we see a problem with a vaccine, we have to go through with it. Why should we do that? if someone needs to really get going somewhere, they can protect themselves, and as much as possible, then they can just go out and do their business. We have been going on with this pandemic for about almost 1.5 years, for a long time, 1 year at least, and we just got by and nothing happened. Of course, many people got it, but if you are careful, if you try to be careful, I prefer to not to go to anywhere, to a public area with many people around, rather than just going and taking a vaccine, because a vaccine that doesn't work, or I'm afraid that it might actually cause something, a problem for me. So in my opinion, that's just nonsense. Yeah, true, if you are talking about some adverse reactions, that's correct, but this is the CDC and FDA actually recommend pausing the J&J COVID vaccine. That's a big thing. There is a reason that they are actually mentioning this, and I don't understand why they're now in this basically mood to say that no, everything, no matter what, is actually acceptable. I actually don't think it's acceptable like that. So if the vaccine is working as usual, and then at those rare occasions you may find some adverse reaction. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, you can get adverse reaction basically from anything. So I mean, you can be allergic to a very, peanut is a famous one, but many other things. Like those people who have many of these specific allergies, those are actually recommended not to get those. But again, I'm not saying what you should do or you should not do, but in my opinion, I wouldn't go for a vaccine that FDA says pause the vaccination with that one. I wouldn't go through it, and I'm one person who always try to bring out the facts that vaccination in general actually can save a lot of lives. So yeah, there you go. But that was basically what this guy was talking about, and yeah. Okay, let's go to the next one. What else do we have? Let's look at some of these big movers today. Okay, Cloudflare. Let's see where we can. Honestly, Cloudflare has a long way to the up top. I would say maybe we can actually get, with this momentum, we can get actually to 88 range easily. So even if you don't get to the top, I think it's a very possibility that we actually get there. So I actually sold a bit of I didn't have much, but yeah. So this is that one, Riot. For so long, I've been waiting to get in a position. I missed it when it was around this area, 40. I thought that it will come back and actually hit this 200 EMA. It did not. So yeah. So we're gonna wait again. But let's see, Riot. Let's look at 2 hour. Well, obviously the movement has been toward direction. It's now extended over the Bollinger Band. So as you can see, it's starting to come back a bit. So yeah. What else? We talked about CAN. Let's look at Overstock. Overstock. I think with Overstock, we might get another. Let's check Overstock. Do we have any news for that? OSTK. I actually like Overstock more than Wayfair, but there's a very good article that actually compares these two together. So Overstock actually has more money and basically has more better margin, while Wayfair has more revenue and but then their cost is actually eating their margin away. So nothing really from that one. Let me check quickly if I can find something from Overstock or STK here. Nothing really. So there is this article, basically Overstock could be an acquisition, but this is an old news, so this is not something new. And yeah, I actually think Overstock is actually a very, very good stock. I actually doubled my money once in it. I was around 52, 53 at my average cost, and I rode up to 100, and I took out, during this pullback, I went out of the trade because of my stop loss, and since then I did not buy again. So this one actually here seems a bit mature, so it has bounced 1 or 2 times almost, so you can see actually a good trend here. So you can expect this to actually move down. I never remember where my arrow is. So you can expect this to come here and then like something like this. So you can expect something like this, or maybe even this one comes here and then this one like here, and then so I would say it will come till this one. So for me, this you can get till 93 with this one. So this is a little bit weird looking, but anyway. So this is actually, I expect this to come back, and then if it can basically break from this resistance, so probably it will be doing like this, I guess. So this is actually the way I expect this to move. So it comes here, bounce once, then come back a bit, then again break through that one, and then you eventually get it here. And 93 round there is this gap which I think can be filled with this move. So maybe not a bad idea already. What is this value here? So you can have 16, 17% gain on this one. So just some idea for today. What is Biden's plan?
I think on balance, it's going to be off course, and here's why. In between last year's triage, which I thought was a tremendous job by the administration and the Congress to respond in a timely fashion at the appropriate scale with pretty well-designed programs, all of which were temporary and did not leave any additional structural deficits once you get past a couple of years. So now we have the American Rescue Plan, $1.9 trillion, which pretty much should provide whatever stimulus is necessary to get the economy back to full employment. That's an enormous package. And we turn to the American Jobs Plan, the infrastructure plan. So how do you think about that? Well, you think, all right, we're putting the cyclical recovery behind us. We need to raise the standard of living, productivity, and real wages in the U.S. economy. Let's raise about $1.8 trillion in corporate taxes and target that very carefully on highly productive infrastructure, maybe some R&D spending. I think if you did that, you might break even, but you probably wouldn't. The damage from the tax increases would outweigh the productivity gains you get. And that's not what we have here. We have that plus an enormous amount of really social spending, $400 billion expansion in Medicaid, some worker training, some work on manufacturing, clean energy spending, broadband spending, things that I don't think are going to meet the productivity test. So on balance, I think this is going to be a negative in the out years, but certainly up front, there's enough left over from 2020 and 2021 early in the year that no one will notice.
Doug, it's great to see you again. The American Jobs Plan is being billed as something that is going to help the economy, though, that it is going to create some jobs. I know you're questioning certain parts of it, but is there anything good in this? I guess, what does it mean at all for longer term employment?
So certainly there are good things in it. I don't think anyone should pretend that somehow there's nothing good in here. There's a big backlog in transportation, ports, airports, infrastructure. That's in here. To my taste, there should be more of that. We could finance it better, and the president has indicated some willingness to think about that. Then good. There's a tradition of using user fees to finance infrastructure. That makes sure people don't overuse the infrastructure. If you're paying for it, you use it when you need it. And it builds up reserves to maintain the infrastructure so that you don't get yourself in this situation where everything's run down. So I think that you could build a really strong productivity-enhancing infrastructure program out of this. But there are a lot of things in here that are not that. So think of the $500 billion you're going to spend on charging stations and other climate-related issues. Those aren't going to raise economic growth. You can make the case we should do them, right? That the administration needs to do that. Say, look, we get it. This isn't economic growth, but we have climate as our top policy priority. But that's not what they're doing. They're saying this is all jobs, and I just don't think that's right.
Doug, I want to talk about next-gen infrastructure because a lot of people, myself included, I think infrastructure, shovel and picks, you got bulldozers are building roads, fixing things, even the electrical grid. But cities are going to be vastly different in 5-10 years. 5G, 6G, Internet of Things, smart cities. How does all this fit together in the plan? Is this something that's also being thrown in there?
It's in there, and I think it's appropriately in there. It's $100 billion for closing the digital divide. I think there's not a big disagreement across any dimension that we learned in the pandemic that we need Americans, and especially America's children, to be connected to the internet in a high-speed fashion so they can continue to learn and use the facilities that are out there. So that's a priority. There's no question about it. What they've chosen to do, I think there is some problems with. They've targeted that money exclusively on municipal broadband and have essentially told the internet service providers who built the most resilient internet on the globe that they're not in line for any of the money. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And they've also signaled in the same part of that proposal that they're prepared to go to rate regulation of the private sector to get costs down. And that, I think, is a mistake. We've had a tradition of light touch regulation in the U.S. It has spawned a lot of competition across types of high-speed broadband. So not everything needs to be fiber. We've seen the development of satellites and other delivery systems. I think we should continue to build on that. It belongs in this program, no question. But how you do it does matter.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people are sorely missing that broadband that they had just over a year ago. Douglas, thank you for.
Right. So let's talk about one of the things that I was talking about, and I was muted. So let's talk about it again. So let's see SDK. I was saying that I prefer Overstock a lot. I think that's a good company. There is risk related to this one. This one is actually compared to Wayfair. And the difference between these two, by the way, there's a very good article you can actually find online. Just write Wayfair versus Overstock. The difference is that Wayfair has much more revenue, but the problem is that they actually have higher costs, so it's eating out their margins, while the margins for Overstock has been doing much better compared to Wayfair. And they both actually, like, this margin issue doesn't seem something that Wayfair is actually handling very well. So for that reason, I prefer Overstock. But obviously they have much more basically cap, and they actually have much higher revenue. So if they can actually deal with that, but it's not easy. Cutting costs is not really something that you can do it easily. So companies really can struggle with that. But it's still, again, if they can do that, which is completely possible, so it can go there. But right now for Overstock, I actually traded this one somewhere around when my average cost was something around 52, 53, and then I rode all this way up, and somewhere around this area, I was basically stopped out of the trade, and I wasn't in this one till now. I'm not still in it, but I was actually waiting for some sort of going back to this again 50 level or something. We never got that, so we went to 54, but then it just went back very quickly, and I was expecting this to be again a coming down of that, but it never happened. So now we have this trend, and what I expect this to do is that it gets bounced here, and then it comes back here this time. Again, get bounced by this one. I mean, sorry, it comes down here, bounce at this basically level. So at this resistance here, then comes down, and again, this time breaks this one and goes up and fills this gap, which takes us to 93 range target value. So this is something I'm basically keeping in mind myself. So if it comes somewhere around 60 something, that will be an interesting trade, at least for me. If it breaks down here, then I will wait again. I will wait to see some sort of confirmation on this one, but it's hard really to say much at this point. It's not clearly showing any direction. For short term, obviously you have oh, okay, this is not very clear, but it has been moving up, so yeah, so it went up. I think that will be a very good trade, and it actually gives you something around 16 to 17 kind of % gain if you take this one. But yeah, that's one trading idea for you. And let's see what they say about Coinbase.
News event, could that possibly happen?
Yeah, so the market structure is fairly interesting in that if you look at the beginning of the year, that initial run was led in January by what we would consider to be Asia retail levered speculators. February and March were very firmly spot bids out of the Western Hemisphere. That was indicative from the Coinbase volumes we saw and the announcements by companies like Tesla. We're back in an environment where we're actually seeing more speculative levered buying in the market today. That's not to say that it's not a sustainable rally, but it's a bit less healthy of a rally than we've seen previously. And that data does change day by day. So we are seeing some bidding into this. Perhaps the listing of Coinbase could be kind of a motivational factor for some additional spot buying out of the Western Hemisphere again, but certainly seeing a bit more speculative buying in this most recent run.
Michael, the expected valuation of $100 billion for Coinbase, does this valuation make sense to you? Is it too high? Is it too low? What do you think?
You know what, in this market, trying to tether valuations isn't always the best idea as a growth equity investor. But if you just look at the numbers, they released them, I believe it was last week, $1.8 billion in revenue in the first quarter, $335 billion in assets in the platform across 56 million users. That represents about 10% of all the assets in the crypto ecosystem. And that user base is larger than Venmo and Square Cash App. You got run rate of $7.2 billion. That's more than the CME and the CBOE combined. And you've got a market cap at $100 billion. You're looking at roughly 4 times the value of the NASDAQ. So it's tough to say that I would
4 times value of the NASDAQ.
Kind of that round $100 billion level that folks have been eyeballing, and where it's kind of crossed in the NASDAQ private markets. There's an exchange in the crypto space called FTX, where they have a Coinbase future that's right now trading around $155 billion expected market cap. And then if you talk to the institutional community, the expectation is somewhere closer to $75 billion. So it certainly is a wide range of outcomes. I think it was smart of them to bring on, not to pitch my alma mater, but to bring on Goldman Sachs and as advisor on the direct listing. Benny Adler has been opening stocks in the IPO and direct listing market for many, many years. And I think his main goal is to make sure it's an orderly open to protect most investors from getting in over their skis. So I think what the expectation is to create a more orderly, transparent book before opening the stock price, and we'll see where it ends up.
Yeah, and I just want to follow up on that because this is pretty interesting. This is the first big direct listing, maybe the first one at all that the NASDAQ has handled. Is usually Peter Giacchi at Citadel opening them up over at the New York Stock Exchange. I remember Facebook back in the day. I assume there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on this, but what is the process of matching these orders, especially on a dealer exchange like the NASDAQ?
So the most significant piece of it is the conversations between the largest holders, and in this case, the advisor being Goldman and a few others involved in the mix. It's really helping to identify the level of supply needed to affect a orderly open. And so typically it falls anywhere in the range of 5 to 10% of supply. You want to open on a substantial amount. The opening kind of block on Coinbase is expected in the multiple billions of dollars, which will be the largest ever first print for a stock. And so those conversations evolve, right? You obviously have venture capital firms that are largest holders, and they are very much long-term believers in what Coinbase will represent. But you also need to allow for large long-onlys, hedge funds, and retail investors to position and be able to grow that position to take place in their portfolio as an allocation to the space. And that's going to take some time. You've got the other interesting part is you have all of those larger VCs require a closing price versus a reference price. And so you'll see come tomorrow when some of those shares are distributed on the closing price, how much supply actually ends up coming to market. So there's a lot of evolving pieces and a lot to come. And you're right, this is, direct listings are still fairly new, of this size, unprecedented, and the first in the NASDAQ.
Well, we will see how this plays out tomorrow. Michael Buchella, partner at Black.
Yeah, that is actually very exciting to see how it happens tomorrow. I think I cannot actually get that. I don't feel, usually eToro is very late on releasing these new IPOs. If they actually release it, if it's really at the early time, I might actually go and try to get some money in it. It will be just interesting. I think there will be a huge demand at early basically start of the trading session. So for me, that is a big opportunity to do some trading. But obviously you should be careful because these things can of course go sideways as well. But I don't have much, I don't intend to actually put a lot of money there. So in that sense, I don't think I'm really in a danger of that sense. Okay, so one of the things that has moved actually today is SunW. I actually bought a bit, but not that much. So it moved 4 or 5% already today. When I'm looking at 30 minutes, it actually gonna continue probably at this unless it gets bounced by this 20 moving EMA basically. But yeah, I did not have enough volume to actually go higher. If it had much higher volume, I would have put money, but this is not known for sure. Yeah. So what else do we have here? So actually many things went into the positive sign. So many of the stocks that were struggling actually went positive, like Tattooed Chef was today somewhere around 18.5. It went to 18.50, but it didn't. Oh, I have 18.25. Okay. Yeah, so that's why. Just have this one. Yeah, Pinterest 84, too expensive for me at these prices. JD I was waiting for this to go actually lower to the 77, 76 ranges. At the beginning of the market, it went down so quickly, so I was actually a bit scared in that sense to go into that one. But yeah, let's have a look at Tesla. How's Tesla? So inflation gonna kill this market. Too much money. Well, I understand why you say it like that. Obviously, there is a risk when you have this much money in the market. That's correct. But also at the same time, there are reasons to believe that that's not a very big reason. I'm not saying either way. I'm trying to just be a bit more cautious when I actually do trading for that purpose. But otherwise, I actually believe that it can go either way. So if that makes sense to you. So I'm not gonna predict how it's gonna happen. Fed obviously says that it's not gonna stay there, and almost every analyst that I see, they are saying that no, it's gonna go up. So who knows? Who knows? And you know, market analysts, I couldn't care less many times what they say. Like many of them are just basically giving a service to their masters. I mean, just honestly, it's some of them, if they want to basically sell something, they reduce the price target. If they want to buy something cheaper, they can reduce the price target, and then they can have a short report, basically a short seller report that talks something bad about a stock, sometimes really BS, and finally they get the price down. They will buy it from bottom. I mean, they sell it, they gain a lot of money, and then of course at the same time they then can easily buy their stock and write it back up. So it's a very profitable business for them. So there is a reason that you shouldn't really go and trust everything they say. But I understand anyway, they are a source, and you like it or not, their opinion actually affects the market. I try to read things myself. So this is one of the important things. If you can basically read financial statements of a company, that actually would be really important, because then you can decide yourself if that is something that you want to actually invest in or not, rather than just listening to some short seller report. But of course, many times they also have reasonable doubts about certain stocks. So to be fair, yeah. What else do we have? Okay, this one is 21. No, it didn't go actually that down. And if I look at 4 hour, I'm actually more inclined to believe that this one, okay, this one is slightly better. How's the volume? The volume is increasing for this a bit, not much, but a bit. Let's see, 15. Okay, I prefer to wait for it a bit, but where's BNGO? Yeah, 6.87. Let's have a look at BNGO again. I really want to bring my cost down in this one. I know this is a high risk, high reward play, obviously, but just so many good things about their product and so many good news all the time about from different sources. So here is this. I have 4. Mm-mm. 660, so we have 665, so that's correct. Yeah, for some reason I was wondering why I have 665 there for BNGO. But it comes down, I buy more. If it comes really to this level, I buy even more than I have already, because I really believe they're gonna do well in long term or long run. Okay, this is another one. I did not actually buy this today. Should I? Let's have some. Did you see the yield? It was plus 1.5% today. It's now minus 3%. So the CPI data. Let's say earning. This week, what do we have this week? Afaria missed miserably. OGI missed. JP Morgan, Gunners, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs. Any other? TSM, okay, UNH, Bank of America, Pepco, Citigroup, Charles Schwab, BlackRock. I really doubt BlackRock doesn't do well. What else do we have? Honeywell, okay. Honeywell, Ally Finance, Unity. Oh, is that? No, this is not that one. The symbol is different. But what I wanted to check actually, not BlackRock, Honeywell. I wanted actually to check Honeywell. I believe they will also, or they should be doing well in the infrastructure plan. Yeah, so on a turn now, so not to trade right now. I will wait. I don't think I will get a good entry at this one today. But Shift is another one. It's still at 8. If it goes around 750, 730, I like to actually add to this. So if it goes below 780, it makes sense for me to add more, but not with the current things. Okay, that's about that one. What are they talking about?
I think this is an opportunity for most investors to say, hey, do I actually believe that we're going to have loose money for the next few years? And do I actually believe that we are going to
I'm tired. They're talking all the time about J&J vaccine use halted in South Africa. Okay. Tesla rips higher as Bitcoin provides steady. Yeah, funny when you realize that Tesla made probably a lot more money from their Bitcoin than their cars in that period of time. But they did. Yeah. What else do we have here? Nothing really fancy. Let's go to Yahoo Finance news. Any specific news? With inflation contemplating, it starts to wash earning markets later. Data global market is just rise after not seen rising. Well, we get back to this next month. Is Uber stock buy right now after record breaking highs with earning charts show Coinbase lifting a journey from Meta to Nasdaq. Home Depot buyer. Now, Home Depot was actually crazy. Yep. Just look at this. Just look at this. Just straight up. Good for them. I have to add HD, but as we said that, they actually went red, but yeah. So we have 15 minutes till close, and they're still talking everywhere about this J&J vaccine. Nothing really interesting. Let's just...
Great hedge against inflation, right? And it's a great hedge when the Fed has to expand a balance sheet, which they said they're going to do for another couple years. And so
this dude looks like actors, doesn't look like a legit person who talks about stocks.
end of the year.
I mean,
and we
look at him, really. The guy is a millionaire anyway, and we are laughing at him. Crazy world, huh?
know that I always say I try to buy about $4 of gold for every $1 silver. Today we're making some changes. I'm probably going to be about half and half because I want that silver because of its industrial use. And I think I'm saying publicly here kind of the first time that
I remember now who this guy is actually. He's the one that was talking that I'm gonna buy China. China is going nowhere. So China is cheap. And he was actually just pumping China, Hong Kong, basically based stocks. So.
Lee, what about the banks? We're set to get earnings from many of them over the next couple of days. We have JP Morgan, that's up just around 20% since the start of the year. Bank of America up 29%. A bunch of them have had a pretty good run since January 1st. Are you still seeing, or are you seeing any opportunity in some of these bigger bank names?
Oh, I'm long and not wrong. We bought a lot of banks last year when nobody wanted.
Well, okay, I'm tired of you. Let's see what Kevin
the closing
says.
bell. Here we go. They're not on commercial. Let's see what they got to say.
Now we'll have 10 consecutive closes below 20. We have not witnessed that, so we're normalizing the VIX since February of 2020. So Mike is correct that in the month of March, you had established growth really kind of find their trough, and that lent calm to the overall market environment. There you're seeing the fall in the VIX. And you're now actually beginning to see some of the emerging growth stocks like a Twilio, like a DocuSign, like CrowdStrike or Cloudflare, Zoom. They're all 5 to 6% higher today. So emerging growth is actually participating as well as we head into earnings.
Do you worry at all, Joe, that it's the calm before the storm and that it kind of sign that we're all a bit too complacent or not?
Wilf, tell me when the size of the Federal Reserve's balance sheet, which is now $7.7 trillion and is actually continuing to grow. The Federal Reserve committed again today over the coming month to buy $80 billion in treasuries. When do we see the taper? When does the size of the balance sheet pull back? When I see that, that's when I'll be concerned.
Well, we're not even talking about it still yet. So no worries there. We're getting some breaking news on Microsoft. Eamon Javers with the details. Eamon.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, Sarah, that's right. The White House is now warning people who use Microsoft Exchange servers to patch those systems with 2 new patches put out by Microsoft. The White House putting out a statement now from a new official over there, the Deputy National Security Advisor for Cyber and Emerging Technologies, Ann Neuberger. Here's the statement from them.
When they talk about cybersecurity, go by CrowdStrike. That thing moves with these kind of reports.
Patches.
But extremely solid company. I love CrowdStrike. I am just sorry that I didn't buy more of it when it was on low. But yeah.
Cloudflare, well, Cloudflare not so much. CrowdStrike probably more. But I mean, really, any of these tech infrastructure platforms for computing integrate these benefits. Let's see here. It's actually not. I mean, we do have a nice movement of about 6.21% here on CrowdStrike, but not a big movement here. Definitely seeing a lot of action here with 10 minutes to go before the closing bell. We actually just saw Palantir almost actually hit some new highs here, some recent highs, 25.66. It is currently red candlesticking a little bit, and let's see here. Clever is still running 8.3%. We've got Tesla's at 7.58, a little bit of a red candle there. CrowdStrike, yeah, still red candle sticking actually at CrowdStrike. That's interesting. Let's go back to that news alert there.
About U.S. intelligence agencies and what their role should be vis-a-vis the private sector. Should the National Security Agency, which is reportedly and by reputation the best in the world at hacking and detecting hacks, should they be involved in dealing with the defensive side of cybersecurity and warning American companies? Here we see an example that appears to be just that, something slightly new here, or more aggressive posture anyway, from the National Security Agency, going through the White House now and putting out this warning to companies saying Microsoft is now releasing these patches as a result of what the U.S. government told it about vulnerabilities in its software. Those patches are out there now for your IT team.
All right. And we're expecting Apple news, by the way, pretty soon on, as they had mentioned here on CNBC, we're expecting news from Apple on their next product announcement, which that should be pretty fun. We also do have earnings coming out today. We started earnings season yesterday, but let's go ahead and hop on over just to see exactly what we're expecting from earnings today. So we're going to pull that up. A quick reminder, if you haven't yet, if I could quickly bug you just to check out the Twitter here. It would be awesome if I could bug you to retweet this right here, just because we're trying to see if we can get Cathie Wood or Elon Musk on. So if you liked the Kevin O'Leary interview, shoot a retweet onto this @RealMeetKevin on Twitter, and let's see if we can get some more attention there. So, okay, let's jump on over. Let's see. Oh, okay, show more. So what's earning reporting today? I thought Rite Aid was reporting today. Today's Tuesday. Well, when's Rite Aid reporting? Okay, well, I don't see it on the list here. So hold on a second. Let me jump on over to the earnings sheet. So pretty sure that Rite Aid was today. But let's see, maybe I'm wrong. Oh, it's Thursday. Thursday. I screwed it up. No, Rite Aid is Thursday. OGI was today. Pretty sure that was an AM move. And as far as Tuesday, okay. I mean, really, I mean, it looks to me more like we're going to be waiting for Wednesday. Looks like tomorrow is going to be a little bit more fun. So if we just erase some of these other things here, tomorrow we get First Republic Bank. So that'll be one of the first banking financials. And we get Bed Bath & Beyond. That'll be watched. Lovesac. Not sure how much that one's going to get watched, but those are going to be more. This is the start of earnings. So it'll be another fun earnings season, I think, or expect. So talk about the house, Kevin. I know. Now we got to actually really write the offers. Let's see. Did they announce?
Josh.
Sarah, circle your calendar. We have a date for the next big Apple event. It's going to take place on April 20th, starting at 10 a.m. Pacific. It is a digital event, meaning it will be streamed online. Now, we don't know what Apple has planned here, but maybe the company could use this event to showcase new iPads. Reports do suggest that new iPad Pros are on the way with the company's newest, fastest processor. The iPad has certainly been a bright spot for Apple. In its last reported quarter, iPad revenue surging 41%. Other possible new products, perhaps refreshed iMacs or AirPods, or even those long-rumored AirTags. Back to you all.
Josh Lipton, Josh, thank you. Mike, interesting to see the stock move higher on this news, especially if it's about iPads, because hasn't the big bull case been the new iPhone 5G cycle? Hasn't that been the big mover?
It has, which is why I think that the stock reaction is also more about people looking for some catch-up trades in tech with yields down, a lot of things coming together. And yes, the announcement absolutely seems like a very short-term catalyst, but we had Apple up a couple percent the other day on no news. So I think it's, it's of the huge cap NASDAQ stocks, it's probably the farthest from its all-time high, still 6-7% below. So I do think that's also.
Where is my Mara? Why Mara was not in the list? And why Mara is not going up that much? Should I get back again at 45? Can get a little here, but as soon as I go, it will come down. So you know how that is. I'm gonna use this order thingy. So 5 minutes, by the way, to the bell.
Maybe. Oh wait, hold on.
After the close today, Leslie Picker's got a preview. Hey, Leslie.
Hey, Wilf, that's right. We're expecting that reference price to come in just a few hours from now. Now, remember, the reference price is not one where shares are actually exchanged for cash, but rather it's a ballpark kind of arbitrary figure for order demand to begin for that direct listing.
Right.
Now, usually the price tag for the reference price is built from a variety of inputs, notably where the shares have been trading in the private markets. For Coinbase, that figure was about $344 per share during the first quarter, implying a valuation of about $90 billion on a fully diluted basis.
Way
and that
higher.
would make Coinbase the largest direct listing by market cap, and it would be the NASDAQ's first direct listing, guys.
Leslie, thanks so much for that. Mike, I mean, you've been having a think about this and comparing it to some other listings back in the late 90s, and it just might mark the top in terms of margins for the business.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been commonly, noted that, in fact, they have.
Hold on. Keep in mind that valuation they just talked about, the 344 mil at 90 bill. And we talked about this in the course member live stream this morning as well. In fact, during the course member live stream this morning is when we called Lauren and broke the news to her that Tesla broke.
So yeah, this is. What else do we have here? Nothing really interesting in the close except the fact that we have had a quite alright day. Let's see, let's look at our own profile that was doing really bad yesterday basically. So it's 1.7%, 1.8 almost. So in the last 7 days is 4.42. I think when I actually look back at my results, I actually feel like I went too much into the high risk, high reward plays during a time that things got a little bit basically red. Usually at these times you should have better stocks, like high really conviction plays. I actually didn't know that there will be these kind of issues, obviously, and I was all the time expecting this to get out of these trades sooner, but it didn't happen. And then a couple of them really took their time, basically, like Tilray, NNDM, BNGO. So generally, yeah. So let's have a look at
Jared Blickery closely watching some of these names into the close. Jared, first to you, what's catching your eye?
And away we go. We got a rotation underway on Wall Street. Dow's down off just fractionally. S&P 500 up 1/3%. The Nasdaq here, that is up 1%. Small caps a little bit down 0.2%. You take a look at the Nasdaq 100. That's where the action is. Mega caps popping nicely. Apple up 2%. Check out Tesla. Tesla's up over 8%. You take a look at the year to date. It's kind of been struggling here, but it looks like it has cleared these lows and it's making a race for its prior highs. Also taking a look at some of the biggest winners and losers here, they're in work from home. Haven't heard a lot of these names in a while. We got Shopify up 3%, Zoom up nearly 6.5%, and also Peloton. That's up about 2.5%. But the travel space not faring as well today. We do have some green creeping in. That's nice to see. United is now up 1%. JetBlue is up over 1%. But American Airlines still mired in the red, down over 1.25%, and Alaska Airlines right there along with it. But we got to talk banks because we got the big earnings tomorrow from JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, all of them down 1% to 2% or so. So not getting the best action today, but not really a surprise because we do have a lot going on in the bond market and as well. Here's the VIX. Just want to point out something. Even with the J&J news earlier today, not much of a pop here on the VIX. Doesn't seem to be a lot of concern. Also seeing just a little bit of action in the U.S. dollar, a little bit of weakness. Pretty much the opposite of what you would think if this were a problem. Here's the closing bell on Wall Street, guys.
Okay, that was it then for today. I think it was rather quite a good day for probably more popular stocks like tech and so on. And well, we basically finished with 1.76 today, but yeah, let's see what happens tomorrow. I think if you start seeing good things about financials, that's a good sign that's gonna actually show more about our future plays as well. But that's it for today. So thank you everyone for joining, and let's catch up again next time the market open. Thanks everyone.